in this part, we're going to look at the mother sauces. There are 5 mother sauces. We have the bechamel, the veloute, the hollandaise, the espagnole, and the tomato sauce. Once you've got to grips with the mother sauces, then you can let your imagination go and build these other wonderful sauces that come within our trade. Whether it be the bechamel making your cheese sauces, your mustard sauces, or your onion sauces. With our veloutes, whether it be a mushroom veloute, a chicken veloute, then developing that into a soup of some kind, whether it be the hollandaise and the béarnaise. It's about letting your imagination go and using the ingredients available to you to develop those flavours and to use them in your finished products. The first sauce I want to cover this morning is the bechamel. Now, first things first, when I'm making my bechamel, I'm going to be using milk. Now, milk is a great product, but it does lack that little bit of flavour. So to add some flavour to my milk today, I'm going to use what we call in the trade a studded onion. For the studded onion, obviously we need an onion. And I am just going to put some small slices into my onion in preparation to stud it and add a little bit of flavour. To add some flavour to my onion, I've got some fresh bay leaves, which I'm just going to tuck into those grooves. So at present, we've got the flavour from the onion, we've got flavour from the bay leaf going into our milk. Wanting to add a little bit more intensity to the flavour, I'm just going to then use a few cloves to hold those bay leaves in place. And depending on how much you like cloves will also depend on how many you want to put in. So I've got the flavour from the onion, I've got the flavour from the bay leaves, I've got the flavour from the cloves, all adding and infusing with the milk to make that my finished sauce more flavoursome. For my bechamel sauce, or in fact the veloute sauce as well, we will be using the equal quantities of both fat and flour. So for my bechamel, I have 50 grams of butter, which I'll gently melt in the pan. On the side, ready to rock and roll, I have my infused milk, still at temperature, which will make the mixing of the sauce easier when we come to mixing the ingredients together. Gently melt your butter before we add in some flour. As I've said, or as I will go on to say, the big difference between a bechamel and a veloute is with the bechamel we'll be using milk, but with the veloute we'll be using stock. Still the same quantities of fat and flour, still the same quantity of milk or stock. So with 50 grams of butter, I've added 50 grams of plain flour, which I'll gently mix in together. Creating that sandy, wet sand texture. And to this point you need to make a decision. Am I making a white sauce or a dark coloured sauce? Obviously I'm making a bechamel sauce at the moment, so I want that colour to be nice and white and bright. So therefore, I'm literally going to use this roux as it is. If I was making a darker sauce or a veloute, I would allow this roux to colour a little bit, to add a little bit more depth and colour to my finished sauces. Now that we've got our fat and flour mixed together properly, I will start adding in small amounts of our milk, a little bit at a time. Not overdoing it, adding too much at once, which will tend to make the sauce lumpy. So a little bit at a time, slowly incorporating the fat and the flour and the nicely infused milk, allowing the flour to cook out, thickening the sauce instantly, as you can see here. Once the sauce has incorporated all the milk, we're going to give it a little bit of a beat up, making sure it's all mixed together properly. It's still on the heat, it's still cooking as we're doing this before we add our next amount of liquid. Again, gently to start with, incorporating that milk in so we don't send it all over our stovetop. Nice and gently, bring it together, stirring all the time, trying to alleviate any lumps. Gently, 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 here we come. Bring it together again. It comes together, give it another beat to get rid of any of those persistent lumps. Allowing the heat from the stovetop to continue cooking that flour, continue thickening the sauce, but at the same time cooking out the flour, cooking out the ingredients will give your finished sauce a little bit of shine. Keep stirring it, still in the heat. I want to cook the flour out, cook the ingredients out. Slowly but surely incorporating the liquid into the flour and butter mixture. Finally giving it a good beat to remove any persistent lumps towards the end. Scraping down the side so we get everything mixed in. Keep on going until you're happy with that. And again, we have weighed out these ingredients. It was 50 grams of flour, it was 50 grams of butter, but it was also 1 whole litre of milk. Discarding the studded onion at the end of its use, incorporating that last bit of milk. Keep on cooking it whilst we're stirring it. If you do have some lumps in your sauce, there's no reason why you can't incorporate a whisk, but please ensure that if you're going to use a whisk, don't use an aluminium pan, because otherwise you might discolour your sauce. Now that all the liquids have been added, we've got a lovely shine on that sauce. That's now ready to move on the cooking process, whether I'll be adding some chopped parsley for a parsley sauce, some cheese for a cheese sauce, or some mustard for a mustard sauce.